Hey everyone, Josh here. Decided to switch up things from the regular Touareg videos and switch to these Mark IV Jettas. I've been wanting to do a regular Mark IV versus the City Mark IVs for a little bit, and I've kind of stumbled across this City here in the last little bit, so I figure may as well do a Jetta version, and I've got some parts here for the Golf version that'll be coming in the next few weeks. So we're just going to go over some obvious differences from the regular Mark IVs to these Mark IV.5s, I guess you'd call them, or the City models. These are only available, the City themselves are only available in Canada. Mexico got a Classico version is what they called them. They both use the Mark IV body. You can see the roof line, everything's the same. It's just these are facelifted. They kind of almost look like a Passat. These were, or the City models were sold from 07 to 2010, and the facelift models were 08 to 10. So this one here is actually an 09. They don't come with Audi TT wheels, but those are just the rollers that I have on it for now. So we're gonna cover some insides and outsides and some nice, I guess you'd call them OEM plus modifications you can do for your regular Jetta. So let's get started. So these front ends, you love them or you hate them kind of deal. A few years ago I swapped a Jetta City front end onto a Mark IV Golf in 03. So there's some they're just kind of like swapping a Golf to a Jetta and a Jetta to a Golf kind of deal. One thing though is these Jetta Cities, the rad supports are different. I'll pop the hood here shortly to show the differences here. But everything is bolt on. You can see it's got your bumper lights the same as a normal Jetta. It's got the fender lights, same kind of deal. Headlights plug in, everything's plug and play. So that's a nice thing if you want to do a swap. The back isn't quite as plug and play. But so there's your trunk and bumper and everything compared to just your regular old Jettas. You can see the tail lights are actually smaller on the body. You can see here they've got the, I guess, indent or whatever you want to call it, whereas the normal ones just went straight across. They've got the rear red markers, which I see people selling on the US Facebook pages. They bolt in, or not bolt, but they'll clip into the front, the same as what your orange markers will. If you want to swap to this rear clip, you have to do a little bit of body work in here. The taillights aren't bolt up, and I don't think they're plug and play. And obviously your license plate lights, you're gonna have to do a bit of wiring, so the back's not quite as easy as what the front is. So I'm gonna pop the hood and see some differences in there. Before I jump under the hood here, I thought I'd just include the Canadian Cities were pretty base model cars. The Mexican Classico cars, you could actually get a GLI version. So you'd get the blacked out headlights, kind of like what the Mark IV GLIs would get. You can actually get where this blank is, you can get fog lights, and you can actually get GLI front lips, the side skirts, and a rear lip. I'll maybe post a couple Google images of that. So that's, if you're debating this swap, that's also something you can maybe look into, if you could source a Mexican Classico GLI, I guess lip kit, I guess you could call it. It does actually make it look pretty sharp. You can also you can split these headlights and paint them. These ones need to be taken apart anyways. There's some bugs and stuff into it, moisture have gotten into them. So all the cities in Canada all come with the nice reliable 2 liters. They're all BEV engine codes, so they're all drive-by-wire. They come in automatic as well as standard. This one's an automatic. So there's nothing real desirable in here, unless I guess you're a big 2 liter fan. One big thing though is the rad support is different from the city to your regular Jetta. So you can see your headlight. There's no bolts up top here for it, whereas your normal Jetta headlights, you have that. So they actually bolt in up top there. So if you are swapping to a city front end, you need to replace that rad saddle, but your factory rad will bolt in. It's the same as this one. Nothing too crazy about that. So that's pretty well it for the front end. Everything else, like hood, hinges and struts, everything like that, that's all the same. So it's a pretty simple front end swap if you're going to partake in it. It's just a matter of getting the parts. These were sold as economy cars, so they do have some dents and they weren't quite taken care of what some of them would. So there are, you can see this one's getting rust at the bottom, and yeah, they're just cheap commuter cars basically. So this interior part, I'm not going to keep jumping out between the city and the regular one. You can just compare them to your car yourself. So first off, I'll start off with your instrument cluster. I'm in Canada, so obviously reads in kilometers. Just the layout's a little bit different than the 04 plus cars. It's got the half display there, so that's kind of cool. The next nice thing is these, I don't know if you call it brush aluminum or silver heater vents. That one's actually broken there, but the surround's still good. Those look really nice if you have the GLI interior trim. They're same thing, they're plug and play. The indicators, I guess, there don't actually light up compared to what some of the earlier ones did, so that's a bit of a downside if your car has that. So I guess that's something to think about if you're wanting to swap to these. Another nice touch is the RMT 100 radio. This one is actually Bluetooth, and you can also plug your car or your phone into the auxiliary or the USB to play music. That's a nice OEM looking radio with, I guess, modern-ish touches. So that's a nice kind of OEM plus modification, I guess you could call it. The steering wheel itself, it's more of a Mark 5 style. I believe the airbag and horn wiring, you can use it to install newer steering wheels into your Mark 4. The steering wheel itself is nothing special, but that's the wiring harness yourself that might be handy to find. They all had center console cup holders, which most of the later cars had anyways, except your fuel poppers there now, instead of being, that's kind of dark in here, but instead of being down where they normally are. So that's just something a little bit different. And one thing I'd noticed was you don't have the grab handle. Everybody else does, but the driver's side doesn't on this one. I don't know if they're all like that, or I just kind of noticed that in this one. So that's about it for this city. The Golf has a few other nice items that I'll cover off when I do the Golf video. I've actually got a couple nice examples of it. So that's yeah, that's pretty lit for this Jetta City one, and stay tuned for the Golf City comparison. I might actually be swapping front and rear clips from the Golf City onto my Mark IV Golf, just to kind of show what all has to be done. This Jetta City itself, it's not a terrible thing to do, so I can kind of, when I do that actual swap, I'll kind of walk through some minor differences between it and the Jetta City. So we'll cover it off when I get to that one. Alright, thanks for watching.